Hey, this is Darius Aria, and thanks for joining me. Today, we're going to be exploring the new metro stop, Metro C Via dei Forti Imperiali. It's got a lot of great archaeological sites. Let's check it out.
First, let's locate where we are in Rome, a hill you may never have heard of, the Velia Hill. We can see here from the plan that the Velia Hill was once pretty much attached to the Palatine Hill. We can see it on the plastico, the model of archaic Rome. We can see it here circled on the Noli plan. So this is a hill that was pretty much erased, first encapsulated in large structures like the Basilica of Maxentius and the Temple of Venus in Rome, but ultimately largely obliterated by the construction of Via dei Forti Imperiali.
Now, I'm on the Velia Hill. So what do we get from the Velia Hill that's still preserved today? This wall here, this is the foundation wall for the Temple of Venus in Rome on the Velia Hill. The Velia Hill extended over this way, all the way off to the side here. What destroys most of the Velia Hill? Right here, Via dei Forti Imperiali, Via dell'Impero of Mussolini. So in creating this road, they've already obliterated a bunch of the hill. They've also recovered a lot of the archaeological material, some of which is going to be on display in Metro C. So where's the Metro C line of the Via dei Forti Imperiali? It's right there. So you can see nestled in the base of the Velia Hill. This is the big component. This is the missing hill of Rome. It extended right here. It gets encapsulated by the Venus and Roma temple, and it continued on joining the Palatine Hill. So the Velia Hill is one of those famous hills of Rome that too often we forget about its existence of because we can't really see it. In the Metro C archaeological sites, will recuperate a little bit of that history of the Velia Hill. Okay, what's special about this metro stop? It's giving us snapshots of the history of Rome, basically from beginning to end. So what we have here from antiquity, we go back to the archaic period. So this is when people are living on hills, including here, this was the Velia Hill, a small mound that connected to the Palatine Hill that ultimately disappears for the most part. But on this hill, like the other hills, people drilled down deep, even 30 meters, to get to the water table to extract water. You got water from the Tiber River at that time, or you got it from the wells that you dug. There were no aqueducts. So we have the narration of the use of those wells until they go out of use and are filled with different kinds of archaeological material. People are discarding things into these wells that are defunct. So you have all that history on multiple layers as you descend to go to the metro. You can see the portions of the actual wells digging down deep into the metro. Then you have portions of homes that were discovered, homes that were destroyed by the Fire 64. This was earth-shattering. And the Fire 64 destroyed up to 3/4 of the city. So it was time to rebuild. And Nero rebuilt big around here, in the Velia Hill, Palatine Hill, Appian Hill. He's building his Domus Aurea. So those areas that were damaged were just raised. So we find truncated walls of various homes. They're now on display. So we really get some good snapshots of different periods of time in the history of Rome, all in one archaeological site. We even have later homes that are visible at the uppermost level when you enter the metro. So this is a place worth exploring when you come to Rome. And of course, it's in the shadow of the Colosseum.
We can take a look on 2 floors at the display of the wells that were created by digging down up to 30 meters to extract water from the water table. So we have the display of the goods that were found in the wells, as well as the shafts themselves, which were lined with panels of tuff. It's an incredible opportunity to understand the difficulties in extracting water in early Rome before the introduction of aqueducts.
Over here in the back wall, we see that when they dug down into the tuff to get to the water table, they line those holes, the pozzi, they line those wells with panels of tuff to ensure kind of stability so there wouldn't be any later infill. It's an amazing, complicated, time-consuming procedure. And as a result, what we have here on multiple layers is the journey of the wells through the entire depth of this metro stop. It is fascinating. So in this metro stop of the Colosseum and the Porta Imperiale, it's a big deal. And what they show you here in two sections is the archaeological finds. On the one hand, you have the votive offerings that are filling up pozzi or wells as they are dried up, as they go out of use. So you have a whole range of materials, a lot of ceramics, a lot of hairpins, a lot of different material from daily life. Over here, you have the remains of certain domestic spaces. In this one in particular, we can see it's waterproof. So this is actually going to be a cistern or a basin for water. The room next door has been identified as a laconigo, so a heated room. We have also the partial remains of other pieces of houses. And these are going back to the 1st and the 2nd centuries AD. So what we have is a whole line of the history, the stratigraphy, the layering of ancient Rome, from the archaic wells to the imperial houses. And of course, where are we? We're in this space called one time the Velia Hill, which is largely obliterated with the construction of the Via dell'Impero, which is today Via del Porta Imperiale, that was constructed by Mussolini. So this is a recuperation of history and archaeology and the layering of Rome, and now we get it. That's what's exciting about the new Metro C line. What's exciting about it, and what we build as the entity behind it, is to preserve these portions of history within the structure, which is part of the modernization of the city, connecting us to the other metro lines, also connects us to the history of Rome. Another section of the Metro C archaeological site that I really like is a whole portion dedicated to important finds from the various imperial fora. That is, the individual forums that are constructed by emperors, because the forum itself is too crowded. So you have a number of really great artifacts that are on display that take us into the recent excavations of the Forum of Peace, Forum of Augustus, and so on. So discoveries are being made all the time in the city of Rome. Here's another place to come and see some of those new discoveries. So you have a lot of different exciting areas, 3 dedicated spaces for giving us this great history of Rome inside this new stop of Metro C. And of course, look at the design, all this gilding. I mean, this is magnificent and over the top. Could it not be referring to the grandeur of the Domus Aurea of Nero? I don't know, but we are in the shadow of the Colosseum, and I think that's something to celebrate, and I think even the architecture of the Metro today celebrates that. All right, here we have another display of materials found from all over the extensive neighborhood. It's taking us into places like the Palatine and the Forum of Peace, and even the auditorium space, the newly discovered Athenaeum of Hadrian. Here we have a person who's a prefect of the city who's making an offering. So you have really, really great examples. Here we have some pilasters and capitals we attribute to the Forum of Peace because it's from an excavation. And this massive, massive capital, look at that. It's part of the entrance. All of this gives you a sense of the size and the scale of this capital. It's taller than me. So we're getting really, really great examples in this museum space of so much of the history of the area of the imperial fora. And that's really the point of this, because it's not just the Colosseum stop, it's a Via dei Fori Imperiale stop next to the Colosseum. So this is a great, great display, one of many on the layers of the entire metro. It's an open museum. When you come to this site and you come to discover the city, you can discover a lot of its history right here. And this new metro finally opened. It's a magnificent space, and it's worth checking out when you're next visiting Rome.
We don't just have the opening of the Colosseum Porta Imperiale stop, but we also have another site located along the Relianic walls at Porta Metronia. And this too was just inaugurated, and it also has its own archaeological site, an impressive barracks system for some of the troops stationed in Rome, dating to the 1st century AD into the 2nd, and then it's abandoned with the construction of the Adriatic wall circuit.
We have a teaser today. We have a look at the barracks. That site is not yet open to the public, but there are timelines, there's imagery, and it really is giving the character. It's coloring your experience as you come into this new metro line. That's the exciting thing about the Metro C line, is that every site has new discoveries and a new peeling back of a layer of the history of ancient Rome. What is so exciting about this site, which is Metronia, Porta Metronia, is that you have the discovery of barracks. And we know that this whole neighborhood is filled with military barracks. And the typology of the discovery of the structures, 2,000 square meters of rooms, well, it's very evident that it's another barrack. And in fact, there's one kind of domus or house-like structure attached to a corridor of dormitories that maybe it's even the commander's quarters with his own atrium space. So it's an exciting discovery. It's incorporated within the metro stop, and now that metro stop here in December 2025 is now open to the public. It's a triumph of the expansion of the Metro C line. And this is really cool. I mean, Metro C is necessary, it's required. We need to modernize the city. In the creation of lines like this, you're going to find archaeology, and the archaeology, the work that's done here is very, very sophisticated. The displays are very, very accurate. So what an incredible achievement for Rome. Finally, we have this important stop that's open, also giving us access to this incredible history on the Velia Hill of Rome. Guys, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends. Every week I'm going to do my best to take you somewhere fantastic, underground, somewhere in Rome, somewhere throughout the Mediterranean.